Hello and welcome everyone to the 20th video lecture of Marketing Research Semester 5 Module number 3. In today's video lecture we are continuing with where we left off in our 19th video lecture, that is questionnaire design and introduction to it. So let us start where we left off. We have seen in a previous lecture a definition of questionnaire. So what is a questionnaire? Questionnaire is basically a set of questions that are printed on uh, a piece of paper, sometimes in physical form or sometimes in a soft copy if it is emailed to you, and it consists of options sometimes to most of the questions. That is, you have to tick up, the respondents are supposed to tick mark or maybe some encircle it and give it back to the researcher. Also we have seen that questionnaire is used in surveys, uh, and there are certain things that the researcher has to take in consider or take in mind when he was designing a questionnaire. Now what are these things? Yesterday we have seen what type of information is to be collected, that has to be seen by the researcher. Then he has to see about what types of questions are to be formulated, and also what are the wordings he has to see. So that has to be checked. Once this is done, the other things that he has to take consider in mind is what should be the sequence of the questions. Now what should be the sequence of the question? Sequence means the arrangement of the questions, that is the logical order of the question. That is, first which should be the question number 1, which should be question number 2, which should be question number 3, and so on. So this sequence of questions should normally be very logical. You cannot give questions to the respondent in a very jumbled fashion such that it confuses the respondent, and many times what may happen is the respondent may be disinterested to answer such kind of a questionnaire. Generally speaking, the starting of the questionnaire should be very simple one and should ask only personal related questions like name, gender, income if possible, and other demographic profile. Why? Because this kind of simple question eases them into answering the questions which are next relating to your topic of research. And generally this, after you select the questions, once you have to check whether the sequence of the questions are right, they should go in a particular order, and that order should be very logical. But the next thing that you have to consider is what should be the layout of the questionnaire. Layout is when you take a printout, for suppose, how does your questionnaire look? So how have you laid your questionnaires on your question paper or on your questionnaire? So this has to be considered. Why? Because if you sometimes we see questionnaires which have options which are very much clumsy, means they are just put together, all the words, the spacing between the words is not that right. In fact, the question numbers are not in one below the other, they are here left, some to are indented more towards the left, some are indented more towards the right, and these kind of things. Some have written in some other script, the other is written in some other script. Some have very big bold items, that is alphabet. Some have very small alphabet. The this options also are not one below the other. So if this kind of things are there, there might be difficulty in this answering for the respondent. Hence layout should also be considered. In fact, layout is to be considered because the final questionnaire should look very classy, or it should be attractive to the customer or to the respondent. The next point that you have to consider is how to undertake pre-testing of the questionnaire. Now what is pre-testing? Now this questionnaire you are devising or you are trying to prepare. Why? Because you want to give it for your respondents. Now instead of giving it to all the respondents, first you have to check whether everything, all the wordings, all the sequence, all the questions which are there, which you are asking in your questionnaire, are not ambiguous. They are actually right, and their respondents understand in the same meaning as you are asking them. So in order to do that, what we do is we do a pre-test. That is, instead of giving this questionnaire to all the sample people, that is all the units under the sample, what we do is we take only a few units out of this, maybe 5 10 units depending upon your sample size, and then we give this questionnaire initially to these people and we get the responses from them. We check the responses. If the responses are right, if we get some interesting responses and we feel that some additional questions have to be asked, we can add some questions. If we feel that some kind of questions are not that much important at this stage and we are getting answers which are understood that it will be the same everywhere, so such kind of questions can be removed. So you can delete certain questions, you can add questions, you can change the questions, you can change the wordings of the question. Sometimes the questions may not be understood by the respondents. If such a case happens, then you have to change the wordings of the questionnaire. So these kind of things can be done in or can be done with the help of pre-testing. The next thing and probably the last thing that you have to consider here is how to finalize the questionnaire. So finalization of questionnaire happens only after you do modifications to your questionnaire after pre-testing. So once it is ready and you feel that everything is proper after pre-testing, after doing the changes or modifications that you have taken under after pre-testing, you can go for finalization of your questionnaire, take the prints and distribute it to your respondents for filling up. So this is how you have to go about before starting with questionnaire delivery to the actual respondents. So with this, today we'll see some sample questionnaires. These are not the full questionnaires, only a part or the snapshots of certain parts of the questionnaire are given to you. Sample questionnaire, for example, how does a questionnaire look? Sofitel, it is a luxury hotel. They have come up with a hotel questionnaire that is for their guests, how good their service was. To understand this, they are collecting data from the guests who have come there, stayed in the lodge or in the hotel, and now they are about to vacate. That is, it is like a feedback form that you fill. Now if you see this, if it is clearly visible, you can check it, or else it will be given in notes. One thing you can see a common, that is for the layout of this question is so nice. The entire thing, that is options are laid one below the other, questions are towards the left, options are towards the right. For each and every question it is standardized options. So 10 means extremely satisfied and 1 means extremely dissatisfied, and this is common for all the first 4 questions. For the next 2 questions the options are different, but for the next 2 questions this remains the same, that is the options remain the same. So we have standardized options for this. So standardization also is very important so that the customer does not feel that he confused or something like that. So these are the things that you have to take into consideration when you're talking about questionnaire. Questionnaire is like see, basically what is a questionnaire? We have seen questionnaire is a set of questions with possible answers that are to be given to the respondent. So this consists of questions as well as possible options or given to the questionnaire which they have to fill. Similarly, one more we'll take, probably this may not be visible to you. It is a sample health questionnaire, very simple questionnaire. It starts with the introductory thing. So give an introduction about you, your organization, your company, if possible, at the beginning, so that the respondent knows who has sent this questionnaire, for what purpose the questionnaire is sent. So once that is done, you start with your basic information. It starts with name, your surname, your middle name, age, gender, male, female. Then it talks about your address, your permanent address, your Aadhaar card number, and all these things have been asked. After that, once your demographic profile has been catched up there in the first part, in the second part they are asking you, uh, do you have any of this following disease, that is diabetes, heart related, kidneys related, stomach, gastrointestinal things. So all these, or anything that is causing you sleep disorders. So all these things kind of questions. So they have asked you, only options are yes or no. So you have to either answer this as yes or no. So these can be asked. So very simple kind of a questionnaire. No options are given here, but the options are common for everyone. That is either yes or no you have to give. So this is another example of a very standardized kind of a questionnaire. Very simple dichotomous questions have been asked. We'll see what dichotomous questions are there in the later part of the module. With this, today we'll end today's lecture. I hope you have understood the basics of what questionnaire is and what are the things that we have to keep in mind when we are talking about questionnaire design. So in the next class, we'll see with steps in questionnaire